Hello, I'm going to talk to you about AQA GCSE Design and Technology at St Dunstan's School. So why GCSE Design and Technology? Well, the course prepares students to participate confidently and successfully in an increasingly technological world. Students gain awareness and learn from wider influences on design and technology, including historical, social, cultural, environmental, and economic factors. Students also get the opportunity to work creatively when designing and making and apply technical and practical expertise. So how's it assessed? Within this course, there are two assessed components. The first being paper 1, an examination, which is 50% of the final grade. The second being the NEA, which is a coursework project, and that's also 50% of the final grade. So let's look at paper 1. So paper 1 is just a written exam. It's 2 hours long, 100 marks, and as I said, 50% of the grade. It assesses the 3 areas within the specification. They are core technical principles, specialist technical principles, and designing and making principles. And in addition, there is maths and science within the exam paper applied to the subject, and at least 15% will be maths and 10% will assess science knowledge. So let's look at those sections. So section A is the core technical principles, which is 20 marks. That's a mixture of multiple choice, so quick questions, some short answer questions, and that's assessing a breadth of technical knowledge and understanding. Section B is specialist technical principles, which is a 30-mark section, and that's got several short answer questions, 2 to 5 marks generally, plus also one extended response to test more in-depth knowledge on something technical. Finally, section C, that's the designing and making principles, 50% of the marks. That's a mixture of short answer and extended response questions, so some larger questions in that section. And again, it's worth mentioning that the maths and science content can relate to any questions throughout the entire paper. Typically, this is what the exam paper looks like. As I said, on the left, multiple choice questions, central, using notes and sketches to explain a process that students have studied. And finally, to the right-hand side, the extended written answers, so lengthier answers showing you have a good understanding on a particular subject. Second component, that's the NEA, non-examined coursework. So that's assessed within school. It's 30 to 35 hours guided, 100 marks, and that's also 50% of the GCSE. The same principles are assessed, so core technical, specialist technical, and designing and making. And really this involves a substantial design and make task, a project, coursework project, which is marked by the teacher in the first instance and then moderated by AQA. A sample is sent. Students produce a prototype, so a product, a model, and a portfolio of evidence to show how they've arrived at that conclusion. It's assessed across a number of sections, including identifying, investigating and outlining design possibilities, identifying a problem to solve effectively, designing and making prototypes that fit the purpose, so that's producing a solution in response to their problem, a product, and finally their analysis and evaluation throughout and how that's informed the development of their ideas. The context challenges are released by the exam board AQA on the 1st of June each year. So we are given 3 contexts from which the students must pick one to focus on, identify a problem connected to solve. There is a high value within this placed on design, development and analysis. So it's the process of solving the problem. There is relatively low value placed on the practical skill of the final product. Okay, it's worth pointing that out. So let's look at what the content is. So that first section was core technical. So this includes a breadth of core technical knowledge to the subject. Things like new and emerging technology, sort of smart materials, energy generation and storage, developments in new materials, systems approach to designing, mechanical devices, and materials and their working properties. The specialist relates generally to a particular material. So we develop an in-depth knowledge and understanding of the specialist technical principles, so selection of materials, forces and stresses, ecological, social footprint, using using and working with the material, producing things using it, stock forms, scales of production, sort of specialist techniques and processes that relate to the material, and also surface treatments and finishes, so things you might apply to the material. And it all relates to one area of materials. So we tend to focus on the timber-based materials, and students are required to have a broad understanding of others, but that is our core focus, timber-based materials within this course. And that makes it slightly easier in the exam when they have to answer questions on one specific material area that we focused on timber as that. Finally, the designing and making principles. There are a range of principles here essential to designing, and it's things like investigating primary and secondary data, environmental challenge, the work of other designers, design strategies, how we develop prototypes, how we communicate our ideas, how we select materials, how we manage materials, specialist tools and equipment, processes. It's everything you need to understand in order to design and make effectively. So let's look at the structure. So year 10, broken up roughly into 6 terms, modules. Specialist technical principles, timber, term 1. Designing and making principles, term 2. Then in terms 3 and 4, we produce a mini version of the NEA. Important for students to experience that. Term 5, we look at the core technical principles. And then in term 6, because we'll have had the context challenges, we can start the real NEA. Year 11 is primarily working through those sections of the real NEA, 50% of the grade. And then finally, in term 5, we revise. We prepare for that exam. Important points, things to mention, well worth knowing. A large proportion of the course does have to be delivered through theory and design activities. Unfortunately, it isn't possible to cover all the content through practical work. Students need to be aware that there is a lot of theory attached to this course. And to do well, as with all courses, students need to work hard on all aspects of the course, not necessarily their favourite parts. The NEA is a substantial project, large amount of drawing and writing. Again, it's worth noting there's a fair bit of writing attached still. And also the exam will contain maths and science, as I mentioned earlier. Final point from me, it's really important to remind students, it's by no means an easy option. There's a lot of content, there's a lot to cover. Success comes with hard work, commitment and resilience. If you want any more information, you can contact me at dpridham@stdunstanschool.com, or alternatively, the AQA website has lots and lots of information. Thank you very much.